Yo, what's going on, you guys? Your boy Ben Mahari here, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast. Welcome to episode 40 of Basketball Conversations right here on this channel. Much love to the entire LDBC and the entire basketball community. So, first things first, guys, we have officially made it to over 900 subscribers, you guys. That's right. We've made it to 900 subscribers. And I want to personally thank, all the people that have been supporting my channel, that's been spreading the word about the channel since day one. We're currently at 904 subscribers. Man, we are edging closer. We're getting very, very close to the big 1,000, you guys. And, I want to personally thank all the people that have been rocking with my channel since day one. I see the good people, my good loyalists here, Brandon Nicholson and Damon Prisha in the building. What's going on, y'all? You know what I mean? It's been a really wonderful ride to watch this channel, grow to what it is right now. And, I want to personally thank, all the OGs in the LDBC for spreading the word about the channel. And, and I want to thank all my subscribers who've stuck with me since my very first subscriber. You know what I'm saying? And originally, I'll be honest here. It was actually, I started the channel, pretty much last year off of a different channel that used to be part with the LDBC group, but it's not anymore. But, you know, because of that, I started, doing, a group of live streams, and I started doing all solo live streams, and then I took a break because I needed to some time, to focus on, stuff at home and other things in between. But right now, it's been really worth it, and to see the channel grow to what it is right now has been really outstanding. As I see my main man 225 girl in the build, what's going on? How you doing? So, it's been really been an enjoyable ride to see the channel grow to what it is right now. It's been really been enjoyable, man. And and for a lot of people that don't know, I'm actually a current, SO athlete as well, playing basketball too. And if all you got to do is just check out FYF Sports Debates and look at my story. That's all you need to look at. And my story's out there. All you gotta do is type in my full name. All you gotta do is Google me, and you'll see ESPN videos galore about me. You know what I'm saying? So, but I want to appreciate all the people that have been sticking with the channel, and for the new subscribers out there, welcome to the channel as well. You know what I mean? It's been a really wonderful ride, and as I see my beautiful, beautiful woman, Tay Brown in the building. Woo wee! Nice picture there, man. You looking fine and sharp this morning, aren't you, girl? Mm, 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 mm. Man, oh man. You know what though? You is still gonna get the steel chain. I promise you that. After I'm done getting my mac and cheese, and we get you the steel chain, you'll be worse than them thorns. I'm just playing. I'm just playing, Tay Tay. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. I always love to mess around with her. You know what I mean? But it's all fun and games. You know what I mean? I don't take it personal with nobody. You said congratulations on 904 subscribers. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the congratulatory remarks, man. It's been really wonderful to see the channel grow. But JJ says, "Oh, now I look beautiful. Come on, you always do. What are you talking about? What do you mean, Tay Tay? You always look beautiful. I mean, come on. Would I not? Would I not say that if it wasn't true? Oh man, you know what it is." She said, "I know, King. I know. Yeah, yeah. You better know. Otherwise, either it's gonna be the leather strap or the steel chain. Take your pick." But anyway, you know, I actually joined the LDBC back in was 2014, 2015, and actually I got linked up to it by some sort of hater channel back in the day, and I checked out 78 Sports TV's first video, and then I was like, okay, and I stuck around with that channel, and then and then saw and then basically got linked up to the other channels, and and here we are. So it's been a really wonderful ride to see this channel make his moves out there too, and for anyone that doesn't know about me, my basketball is my niche, but I can talk other sports too, except for the NFL because I have a little bit of gripes against the NFL for what they did to Colin Kaepernick too. But I can talk any sport which you want to talk about. I do for historical perspective videos too, mainly basketball. But if you want me to touch any other sport there too, I can obviously do that for you if you want me to. All you gotta do is just hit me up in the comments section, and I would make sure to do a video for you ASAP. Rocky is always gonna be, you know, every Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Central Time. You know what I mean? Because I work at a job that's like 12 hours a day. I try to get the videos out there, in a couple of days, try to pre-plan the videos and then make sure that it gets out there to you guys so you can go ahead and check them out and, make comments on it. But, it is what it is. And I do this show actually Fridays, at 9 p.m. Central Time. It just I had to do it today because I just missed it out because I was so exhausted from work. So she said, I made mac and cheese too. I know you did. And she said MMA. Hey, I actually been interested about what you think, Tay, about the retirement of, Khabib too. I think it's a good time for him, finally call it quits though, because, I read some reports that, his mom didn't want him to go out and fight, that one, last fight, the other night. And, he made a promise it was going to be his last fight. And I think he's going to, you know, finally say, hey, it's time to hang it up. And I respect him for that. You know what I mean? She said, that's what's up. Get that money. Yep, exactly. He's going to retire undefeated. He's defeated every person that he stepped into the ring, and I will forever love him for that demolition of Conor McGregor. It's still going to be one of my favorite fights of his career, and the madness that took place after the fight, which is just crazy. I loved it. What's going on, Gideon? How you doing, my man? Welcome, bro. Yeah, he said the season may start before Christmas. Yeah, we're going to discuss about that, in a little bit. But it is what it is. He said. She also Damien says they've done everything in the sport. Yep, and basically stuck it to you know stuck it to Dana White every time though too. So it is what it is. Teddy Brown says I feel Khabib has nothing more to prove. He's a GOAT. Plus his father died. Yep. And I think that had a lot to do why he was pretty much said, I'm done with the sport though too. But to lose your father the way that way to due to COVID-19 is just like, man, it was just tragic. But I'm glad that he's finally said, hey, I've done everything I did in the sport. You know, I'm retired undefeated. I defeated everybody, so there's nothing left to prove anymore. So, says, get that money and keep up the good work. Oh yeah, absolutely. And she said, Team Khabib. All right. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, we're gonna make some moves out there too, and maybe sometime in the future, we'll see. Um, we'll see if I wanted to do some boxing or MMA. It's just that I haven't been, too in tune with it because of all the BS that goes on there. Gideon asked me, "Who's your favorite NBA commentator?" My favorite's Kevin Harlan. Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know. That's a really good question. I have to really think about it. I mean, Marv Albert was always been my favorite, but who's that guy that used to broadcast the Seattle Supersonics back in the '90s? I mean, he was the funniest commentator I've ever heard of. Was it Cabralo or something like that? He now does it with the Blazers, but I forgot his name. But and she also said, should I do my own channel? Of course, dude. Why not? You could do whatever you want with your channel, and you still got a lot of people that will support you too. It's whatever you wanted to do. Go for it. Why not? Um, Marv Albert would be my favorite one in terms of mainstream, but you know, who was that one guy for the Sonics? I got to research his name real quick. Portland Pacers broadcast team. Shoot. Yo, Kevin Cablo. Oh, he basically parted ways with them. Oh wow. Yeah, Kevin Cabro was actually one of my favorite people, especially during those Sonics years when he's always talking about, here goes the baiting, the Kev, and here goes the Duggan with a right hand. Oh, they jam it down. The Rayman with the monster stuff. Oh man, he was so hilarious. And, he should have been doing boxing too, but he actually commentates, basketball games like the way it was like it's boxing too. I mean, he was one of my favorites. Oh yeah, absolutely. I love Kevin Cabro. It's surprised that he hasn't had opportunities to coach. in the mainstream phrase. I mean, he's done it with Turner Sports, but nothing much in terms of this, mainstream. But I would love to see him to do it in the near future. Now he's part of ways of the Blazers too. So, but it is what it is. Now, with that out the way, let's get down to the start of the show. All right. He says Mike Breen is nice to listen to too. I like Mike Breen. I think I've grown into Mike Breen a lot, but I think for the last couple of years he's kind of a little bit stale. But I think that Mike Breen's grown into it. I've kind of gotten used to it, but I think he's gotten a little bit stale in my view. JJ Brown says I don't know basketball. Why did you just watch it then? Or better yet, how about you just stick with me and Ticket, and we could teach you about basketball, so that way when you have a conversation, you could basically either these trolls that don't know basketball with actual knowledge. How about that, Miss Tate? Since you're the Miss MMA lady over there, all right. Even though I can still kick your butt. I am just joking. I'm just joking. Even though I can still kick your butt. Okay. With all the fun out the way, now we're gonna get to the start of the show and what I'm going to be starting to talk about here. Okay. So now we're gonna get to the first part of the show that I'm wanting to be getting my hands on. Okay, so Mr. Shaquille O'Neal decides to disrespect Dwight Howard again, and this is in reaction to when Dwight Howard won and the Lakers won the title. Okay, and for Dwight Howard, it's his first championship, and Zach Shaq is really upset to the fact that he won his first championship. And this beef between him and Shaq has been manifested itself for so many years. And it's because of the fact that, Shaq wanted to see Dwight Howard reflect a lot of his similarities to himself, but Dwight Howard has not been that kind of guy that reflects a lot what Shaq is. All right. And at first, there's a lot. At first, I saw a lot of the things that Shaq was saying, which was honest criticism, but now it's getting to the point like, bro, it's really becoming much more of hate. Now, listen, do I agree that Dwight Howard didn't do too much during his time? You know that that he didn't do too much when he was in his prime. I guess you can say. I mean, listen. Do I think that Dwight Howard could have handled things a little bit better when he was in Orlando? You bet your bottom dollar I do. All right, he could have stopped basically, you know, pandering to the media, giving them quotes left and right, and basically putting too much pressure on the Orlando front office to try to win now instead of figuring out a way to let the team develop into another contender again. JJ Brown says, "Oh no, you don't. I'm not trying to make a fool out of myself. Oh, come on, just have some fun." Okay, look, listen. Do I think that Dwight Howard had not lived up to his potential to when he was playing in Orlando? I agree with that. But as much as I hate to say it, all right, Dwight Howard is a Hall of Famer. All right, listen, I have my opinions about Dwight, that he should have taken basketball much more seriously and he should have had the killer instinct, but was never his nature. But when you look at Dwight Howard's statistics and what he's done throughout his career, particularly when he was in Orlando, all right, he's a Hall of Famer. He's literally a Hall of Famer. All right, 8-time All Star. He made first team All NBA 5 times from '08 to '12. All right, he won Defensive Player of the Year 3 straight years, and should have been a fourth year if he didn't injure his back. Okay, and he led the NBA in rebounding 5 times, including a 3 year stretch between 2008 to 2010, 2012, and 2013. All right, he led the NBA in blocks in 2 consecutive years, and won the slam dunk title in 2008, and led the Orlando Magic to the NBA Finals back in 2009. Now, sure, they flamed out in 5 games, but those games were much more closer than people realize. If Courtney Lee had made that lob pass for the layup in Game 2, that's a 1-1 tie. All right, and if the Magic didn't blow a commanding 8-point lead with about 5 minutes to go in Game 4 of that series, all right, that's a 2-2 tie. All right, those finals in 2009 were much more closer than people realize. It's just that the Lakers had Kobe and had the other pieces around him, that stepped up in big moments. That was just the big difference. But let's just think about this one for a second, okay? Has Dwight Howard, didn't utilize, his skill set, or probably didn't, expand his game as much as he should have? I would agree with that. I agree with Shaq's assessment on that. But let's get something straight here, okay? But Shaquille O'Neal didn't take the game too seriously after he won his first championship. And let me explain why. And I made a video about this where I got ripped by a lot of people for it. Because here's the thing, okay? When Shaq won his first championship back in 2000, right? What happened during that offseason? All right. He gained what? At least 20 pounds during that offseason and was fat and out of shape. That infuriated Phil Jackson and Kobe Bryant. And he had to took the entire season just to get into shape. All right. So I don't get what Shaq is trying to say here in this whole assessment thing. Because listen, this is comes across as hate. All right. And I don't like defending Dwight Howard. I think Dwight Howard, as great as a talent that he is, all right, he didn't take the game seriously, and he didn't commit himself to winning as much as he should. All right. And you saw that being exposed when he got traded from Orlando to Los Angeles, or when he paired up with Kobe Bryant, because he assumed that winning a championship was going to be easy. All he had to do was just, ride the coattails of Kobe and just do what you've been doing in Orlando, and that would be enough. Not knowing that winning a championship takes much more than just talent. You have to have much more work ethic. You have to have the drive, and you have to have the competitive spirit within yourself to be a champion. And that's what Kobe was trying to teach. And in all sincerity, this may have led to basically the rekindling of Shaq and Kobe's relationship too, because they recognized how much they missed each other, right? All because of Dwight Howard in that sense. So I do understand a bit where Shaq is coming from, but at the end of the day, this really comes across to me as hate. Because listen, bro, this is not the first time Shaquille O'Neal has always, said some outlandish stuff that comes across as just very, very childish. Look at all the things he's done to JaVale McGee. Always putting him on Shatting the Fool every single week. He even had one version of Shaq and the Fool was all JaVale McGee's, F ups, right? Now listen, has JaVale McGee toned that down at this point? Yes. But listen, JaVale McGee was athletic as he was doing a lot of dumb stuff on the floor. But it didn't have to result in basically making him getting fun of every single week to being the biggest laughing stock in the NBA. That's why when he was in Golden State, that's why you saw a lot of his teammates stand up in JaVale McGee's defense when Shaquille O'Neal kept making fun of him every single week, right? Listen, Dwight Howard, as much as you want to admit it, he's a Hall of Famer, and Shaq resents that. He resents the fact that, listen, I I saw a lot of the similarities to Dwight, but he didn't take the game seriously. And seriously though, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Dwight Howard was being revered as the next Superman, and Shaq was the original, ego man of Superman. And that's where I think a lot of the ego and the jealousy came into play between those two guys. You know what I mean? It's absolutely ridiculous about what I see out of this. But at the end of the day, Shaquille O'Neal needs to stop with this hating stuff because it makes himself really, really look bad. And more importantly, it comes across as very, very childish. And he's a grown man who has a lot of businesses, who puts in a lot of money for not just for himself, but his community. And he doesn't need to resort to petty, childish stuff, man. I mean, it just makes you look real, real bad. That's what I really think about it, you guys. So let me go ahead and check out the chat real quick. All right. Gideon says Shaq needs to give Dwight his credit. Superman worked his butt off to get that chip. Right. Listen, he's not. Listen, Dwight Howard wasn't the same Dwight Howard as you guys saw in Orlando with the injuries, and how his game, how his game does not fit in today's style. But he did when he had his chances, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. I can't get mad at him about that. So cool one. Hey, what's going on, man? Welcome to the channel. He said Shaq got mad about at Howard being happy. You just said it yourself. Absolutely. Gideon says, do you think the Lakers will repeat? If they make some tweaks to the roster, they certainly could. They could. It just depends. It just depends on what they're going to get out of it. I would try to shore up the bench. That's what I would start with. I would try to shore up the bench, and if you're gonna look to try to make Chris to get the Chris Paul trade, you're gonna have to find a way to get rid of the Wall Ding's dead weight contract. That's for starters, because without getting rid of that contract, they're gonna put themselves in a very tenuous situation in terms of the salary cap. All right, that's for starters. Now let's continue on. Words. Brandon Nicholson says, absolutely. Dwight Howard was a big piece of Lakers' success. Yes, he was. Listen, for his role of being a role player, he did his job and he did it to the best of his ability. And he didn't cause any drama or any controversy. And when you're playing with LeBron James, you're gonna play your role to what you're supposed to be doing. And if you don't, you're gonna get right out of there. So it is what it is. So Cool One also says jealousy is a weak admission, an emotion. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Listen, Shaq is in the Hall of Fame. He's got 4 NBA championships. What does he need to be jealous about with Dwight? I don't. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. So let me check it out. The chip cements Howard's career as a Hall of Famer. Yep, agreed. I think Dwight Howard would have been a Hall of Famer no matter what. But now with the championship added to his resume, now that puts the final signature of his career. If he decided to retire right now, he's a Hall of Famer. All right. Now, as much as I want to give my criticism of Dwight Howard about not reaching his potential, his accomplishments speak for itself. And so I can't take that away from him. And I can't take away the fact that he was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year and led the NBA in blocks for 2 straight years. I can't take that away from him. And for a guy that had limited offensive ability to basically round up your entire career, averaging at least 16 points per game, 12 and a half rebounds per game, and also 1.9 blocks per game, and had a 2 year, and that basically what a one, a three, four, basically a 6 year stretch where he was averaging between 2.4 to 2.8 blocks per game. I mean, there's nothing to argue about. He's a Hall of Famer, no matter what we say. Brandon Nicholson says, "I think the Lakers can three-peat unless these GMs wise up and think a big team, big a team big enough to compete against LA. Well, if you got the size and versatility of the bigs, you got a chance. That's what I pretty much say." Gideon says Dwight Howard would have been much more dangerous if he learned how to post up better. I do agree with that. I mean, he did work with Akeem to improve his post game, and when he came back out of the Akeem Olajuwon camp, he put up excellent numbers in those last 2 years in Orlando. But the thing that people take criticism on is that he didn't evolve his game after he had the training. He didn't develop a hook shot. He didn't develop, a turnaround jumper. He did develop the ability to post up better for his size and strength and athletic ability. You know, those are the kind of criticisms I have. Basketball related. Other stuff, I'm not going to get into that. He said, I agree. He was a Hall of Famer before he won that ring. Exactly. What's going on, Lamont Lane? How you doing, brother? Gideon says Dwight had a great career, but he needed to take basketball seriously. I agree. That's the one thing that people are going to continue to rebel on for a long time, that he didn't take basketball seriously, and it cost him. Because people didn't respect his game as it should have been when he was in Orlando. That was is what it is. Damian Preacher says Dwight was lazy. Remember Kareem aired them out on first take. That's right, pretty much. And in fact, too, now that you remind me of that, there was a debate about who was the best premier center in the NBA between Andrew Bynum, Dwight Howard, and also DeMarcus Cousins. Until Dwight Howard got hurt, and then Andrew Bynum got lazy and got hurt, and it was pretty much DeMarcus Cousins for a long stretch until about what's it 20 until 2015, 2016 until he got hurt. So it is what it is. Gideon says the Magic may have won the chip if Lee had made the layup. Yep, just like I said. And if Howard makes his free throws in game 4. Totally remember that. Exactly. Orlando would have been up 3-1 if things go in their favor. Right. Right. And Gideon says Superman was athletic, but he wasn't serious about winning. Hey, you can't change people's personalities. You can only control what they do on the court. So this is what it is. So with that topic out the way, now I'm going to switch hands to another topic in hand. And I know tickets, doing a live stream about that too, later on, but I'm not sure. But here's another topic at hand here, guys, that we're gonna discuss about, you guys. So, Mr. Pat Riley pretty much went on the media and pretty much said that the Lakers championship will always hold an asterisk behind it. Now, you ask, what is he talking about? Well, in an interview that he gave with the Miami Herald, Riley was asked about the finals loss in 6 games. While he basically, gave the Lakers their fair due, they beat the Heat fair and square, he also used the key word that I know a lot of LeBron fanboys are not going to like this, asterisk. And specifically, he wondered about what would Heat's chances would have been if they were at a full healthy team heading into that finals. So this is what he had to say to the Herald, end quote. Reflecting on the 6 game finals loss, I would like to see what it would be like if everybody whole. We'll get our chance again. The Lakers have the greatest player in the game today, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They beat us fair and square, but there'll always be an asterisk. If we had Bam and Gordon 100%, Gordon was our leading scorer entering the finals, and the man gone to the 7th game. End quote. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to be happy about, you know, about what he basically had to say, but every championship is legitimate. Now there might be some asterisks behind, certain championships, but listen, I'm not going to get into the whole issue about I agree with Pat and all that stuff. Although there are some things I do agree with, as I see the OG Stormy B Man in the building. Hey, y'all make sure to subscribe to Stormy B Man. Great boxing commentary and also great discussions about food too. I mean, the dessert episode is one of my all time favorites. Great channel, guys. Just please go subscribe to Stormy B Man. I'm serious. You're gonna love the stuff that he's gonna bring. Brandon Nicholson says, "You know that I'm a Heat fan, but even if Bam Adebayo and Golden Chocolate were healthy, LA would have still won the series." Exactly. Now, let me just continue on that. Listen, I don't think it would have even mattered if Goran Dragic or Bam Adebayo would have been healthy throughout the entire series, because to me, there was still no way that the Heat would have beaten that Lakers team. It would have still ended in 6 in all sincerity. All right. Those injuries pretty much, speed up the inevitable. All right. Now, I do give Jimmy Butler his just due for how he performed in the NBA Finals with those two amazing triple doubles. But it took a lot of energy, to squeak out two of those victories in the series. All right. Now, even when both of those players did came back, all right, it still did not change how the series was going to be shaped. All right. Bam would have still had issues against the front line against Howard McGee and also with Anthony Davis and guarded with LeBron James. Goran Dragic, as good of a scorer as he is, all right, you still had to contend with Rondo, right? You still had to contend against Alex Caruso, who's a very good defender, right? It was just not a good matchup. And plus, you had Danny Green, who's a good defender too as well, who could also hit timely shots, right? You had a lot of players like Rondo who were hitting timely shots. It's like, what can you do to stop the bleeding? There was nothing that the Heat could have done to change things up. It was just a match. It was just a mismatch waiting to happen. And so I think as this comes across to me, it's a bit of sour grapes on Pat Riley's end. Now, listen, I'm not gonna crap on Pat Riley because Pat Riley's a winner. All right, he's won various championships and as a player and as a coach. All right, his resume is endless. But you know, if if you were basically trying to say like that there's an asterisk to the championship, then I could pretty much say for fun purposes, how about the fact that you won the title in 2006, considering all the foul calls that you got against the Dallas Mavericks? Isn't there an asterisk on that championship, right? How about in 1988 when you were coaching the LA Lakers? If Bill Laimbeer wasn't whistles for the foul against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he was guarding him in the post in that game 6 that would have lost them the title. All right, isn't there an asterisk behind that? You know, listen, I'm not gonna get into this whole asterisk this asterisk that. I was just saying it for fun purposes, but in all sincerity, every championship is legitimate. All right, and at the end of the day, all right, it didn't even matter what adjustments or what strategy the Heat were going to throw at them. The Lakers were just a far better team up and down, right? There was no stopping them that entire postseason. And at the end of the day, the Heat are going to continue to get better out of this, in the tough Eastern Conference. But I think that this just didn't come across real good to me, and from my viewpoint, you know, that's just what I feel about it. As Damon Preacher says, Pat Riley is still sour. Avery Bradley was missing, and which balanced everything out. Right. If Avery Bradley would have been in part of that series, that's another defender you could throw at the front line. I mean, actually, in the backcourt. Now, listen, I like Duncan Robinson and I like what Tyler Chiro did, but the glaring weakness I saw with both of them is that they're not good at, shooting the ball off the dribble. But I just don't think I just think that the defensive matchups that the Lakers would have thrown at those two guards with a full roster, it would have still ended at 6. I don't care what Pat Riley says. I don't care what anyone else says. The Lakers were just a far better team. Period. Brandon Nicholson says, sorry to go off topic, but I don't believe the Clippers matched up with the Lakers. I really didn't see none of these teams that could have beaten the Lakers this past season. They were just too big. I do agree. Now listen, they did beat them. I think was it twice in the regular season, but as we all normally say, the regular season doesn't mean jack. It's all about how you do in the playoffs. And I think that the Clippers' chemistry was far too much in question, and there was going to be a time where where the Clippers' chemistry issues were going to come to the forefront. The Lakers played like a unified team, and the Clippers were just a divided team, and you could even see it when they were blowing that 3-1 lead against the Nuggets. So that's just pretty much how I see on that your point. Damon Pritchard says, not just that, they were too small. And Damon Pritchard says, exactly. Yep, that too. So at the end of the day, guys, you know, as much as Pat Riley wants to, say what he wants to say about the asterisk thing, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Because the bottom line is, no matter what circumstances happen in that championship series, every single championship in any sport is legitimate. No matter how hard you want to try to debate it or how hard you want to try to slice it. All right. Every championship has legitimate meaning to it. Doesn't matter who you face against, doesn't matter who you beat. Did you win the championship under those circumstances? And if the answer is yes, your title is legit. That's all you need to know. And that's pretty much is what it is on that point. So, I just don't like it when when people like to put asterisks behind anything, and it just comes across really petty to me. I just don't like how it came across on Pat Riley's lips. So, with that topic out the way, now I'm going to get into another huge topic in here. JJ Brown says he's still got the same hairstyle, right? You know what though, Tay, you're from New York, right? You've seen the hairstyle of Pat Riley when he was the coach of the Knicks. I don't know how he keeps that hairstyle together. I mean, he's gonna have some really good genes to keep that same hairstyle together since the '80s. Amazing. Randy Nicholson says, I saw the Clippers' chemistry is when the Suns were smacking them around before the pandemic. It was a gut feeling. It was a gut feeling I had. Yeah, you got that right. He said, Brandon Pritchard said, oh, yeah, when Devin Booker was getting past both Kawhi and PG. Yep, you guys know it, guys. You know it better than anything. And I'm going to get to the Clippers heated side of things in just a moment here, guys. So, with that out the way, I want to talk about another particular subject in hand here that really comes across as very petty. And, I was debating about doing this, and I'm like, you know what? We're doing it. Why not? So let me make sure to put the pictures up. There we go. Now, another thing came across for me yesterday. So Mr. George Karl, one of the great coaches in NBA history, once again decided to take more shots at DeMarcus Cousins. TJ Brown says that's sad. What do you mean that's sad? Hey, I still got the same hairstyle even as a kid, even though the fade has gotten really, really better as I got older. So hey, it is what it is. Yep. So Mr. George Karl once again took some shots at DeMarcus Cousins, and you ask, what the heck is George Karl saying this time? So it was basically from a question by Hoops Hype, all right, and they just gave out a basic question to George Karl, and they asked him, name the first player that you disliked the most 10 years ago, and your last player that you dislike the most currently right now. Then George Karl had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to call basically named DeMarcus Cousins and called him a snake. Really, George Karl? Really? The dude is really one of the most pettiest people I ever met in my life. And I'm gonna get my rocks off about George Karl in a minute. But what really just irritated the heck out of me was is that, you know, George Karl once again keeps putting his foot in his mouth even after retirement. Now you're really making things worse for yourself. And people who tend to forget, all right, when George Karl took over the Sacramento Kings towards the end of the 2014-2015 season, there were there was basically reports coming out that George Karl tried to push Jamarcus Cousins to be traded, and even going as far as making phone calls to other executives around the NBA for any trade, proposals for DeMarcus Cousins. And when Jamarcus Cousins found that out through social media, he was not happy about that. And when he got word about the whole tweet, he pretty much called George Karl an ungrateful snake, as he should have, right? Those those two guys never really got along. As most of you guys know, George Karl's ego and high strung personality, you know, it was just you knew that if there was going to be fireworks that was going to blow up. All right, George Karl is an eccentric type of coach. All right, and he's the kind of guy that if you if you are loyal to him, or you just basically do what he does, he'll respect you. But if you go outside of his norm, he tends to get out of his own way to try to make your life a living hell. And that was one of the big things that I remembered when I read the book Furious George a couple of years ago. The book that George Karl took his shots at Carmelo Anthony, J.R. Smith, and Kenyon Martin, but he went in on various people. He went in on Kendall Gill when he was in Seattle, talking about how Kendall Gill was weak-minded and was soft, not knowing to the fact that he had migraine issues, and it basically said that he has no sympathy for Kendall Gill in his book. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, this is why a lot of people in the NBA do not respect you. All right? Listen, he's fourth all time in career wins, but he never won an NBA championship. You want to know why? The reason why is his ego and his agendas kept getting himself in the way because he wanted to be the center of attention. All right. And as a coach, you cannot be the center of attention. Great coaches like Greg Popovich deflect away from the attention. Phil Jackson, as much attention he gets, he tries to deflect away from the attention, unless if he had to be the center of attention. Okay. He was envious of the fact that he was not those kind of coaches and did not get any influence in terms of like talking about general manager decisions or things that and the third. And so it really came across to me as just petty all around. And I didn't really appreciate the fact that he basically did it once again to DeMarcus Cousins. Now look, do I agree that DeMarcus Cousins can be a bit emotional at times? I agree. And I listen, I met for those of y'all who don't know, I personally met DeMarcus Cousins back in 2014, actually no, 2015, in All-Star Weekend in Madison Square Garden. Great guy, all right? And I know that he takes the game very, very seriously. That's the one big thing I can say about him. He loves the game and loves it to the core and takes it very, very seriously. But sometimes when the competition gets rough and when things don't go his way, he reacts emotionally. That just is what it is with any other athlete. But if you try to backstab him in any other way, he is not going to respect you. And that's what happened when George Karl tried to, get him out of Sacramento. All right. He didn't George Karl didn't say it to his face. All right. He basically did it behind his back. And when George Karl found that out through social media, it just made the situation very, very tense. and it was just a combination that wasn't going to work out in the long run. Now you see why many executives in the NBA don't want to touch this guy because he's just too dang toxic. Listen, George Carl, broke the code by just spilling out all the locker room secrets to the public, right? Why do you think a lot of players don't have respect for this man? They don't because he basically exposed their entire secrets, and he went as far as talking about a lot of the players had like single moms that didn't have a father with them. You know, George Carl is just toxic, man, and I salute Joe Marcus Cousins for pretty much putting him in his place. Many people will say like, well, he should have just ignored him. No, he shouldn't. Because if a man disrespects you like that, calls you a slithering snake, you gotta put him in this place. So I have no problem with DeMarcus Cousins did. All right. Especially for a guy that was known for breaking up teams. And how do you have a problem with Ray Allen? One of the most classiest people in the NBA. How do you have a problem with Ray Allen? I just don't get it. So yeah, at the end of the day, and Tay Brown says, please don't put up that ugly picture of Pat again. At the end of the day, George Carl keeps putting himself out there. He just does it for, to get himself attention. And I really don't appreciate that at all. And I would just advise him not to do these kind of things like this anymore. If this is his way of trying to get himself attention or try to get back in the coaching scene, whatever he's thinking about, which I don't think he will go back into coaching, he's not going to do himself any favors by doing stuff like this. Ever. 225 Girl says, really? Why? I'm surprised he didn't add Melo to that list. Right? Since he never liked Melo in the first place. Right? Or even Kenyon Martin's name, Priest said. Right. So, it's just annoying to me how George Karl keeps taking shots at some of the players that he's coached with to this day and made his coaching career possible. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. So, it just is what it is. But I really salute DeMarcus Cousins for pretty much, keeping him in line, in terms of what he said on social media. It was not well thought out and it was not respected. So it is what it is. So now we're gonna get to the really thick. We're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of today's show. And I know I'm gonna spark up a lot of conversation today. But these two separate topics are gonna tie into what I'm gonna be discussing about. Okay. So this week, Mr. Akeem Olajuwon, as I put the picture up right here, Mr. Akeem Olajuwon basically had his put his name into the conversation about the GOAT debate, and he considered Michael Jordan as a far superior player than any other player in NBA history, and he had really some interesting things to say about that. He said that Jordan was a far superior player than LeBron James. He said when people start comparing him, LeBron with Jordan, then that's not a fair comparison. Jordan was a far superior player in a very tough league, and he was very creative. That's not taking away anything from LeBron because he's a great player, but it's not a fair comparison because Jordan is a far superior player. So I I had no problem with what Akeem said. Right now, I wish I wish we would have seen a matchup between Jordan and Akeem in the NBA Finals, and they could have met each other in both in maybe was it twice in the '90s, but it just never meant to be. But it's very interesting to see how Akeem compares Jordan as a far superior player, considering the fact that they did met each other in the 1982 Final Four when they were in college, when Jordan was in UNC and Houston, and when Akeem was in Houston. But the thing with Michael Jordan is that we keep talking about who's the greatest player, who's the far superior player, and Akeem obviously saw Jordan a lot, during his playing days, and saw a lot of the things that Jordan could do that LeBron obviously does, or probably LeBron can't do. So he has maybe a various biased perspective about that in that aspect, but he's not wrong when he thinks about how Jordan was a vastly superior player in terms of how he approached the game and how he you know you know evolved this game as he got older. Because remember, Jordan relied heavily on athletic ability combined with skill set early on in his career. But then as he got older, he had to learn more on the craftsmanship, where he had to utilize the mid-range jumper or the fadeaway jumper from the post. You know, things like that kept evolving his game. That eventually Akeem Olajuwon did the same thing. He basically learned how to use his feet to post up, and basically get to his spots on the floor, use the turnaround jumper instead of using a lot of the power game a lot. And I both of those guys had a similar approach to her terms of how they played the game. And I think that's where a lot of the comments from Akeem, came from. But, now with that being said, this is where it's going to tie into what I'm going to discuss about. This is going to be the main topic of what we're going to discuss about here. So, here's what we're going to discuss about here, guys, okay? So, Michael Jordan basically had an interview, and Michael Jordan pretty much killed the entire, GOAT conversation, because he had a lot of interesting things to say in an interview done by Cigar Effichano, about a week ago. And he talked about how, you know, what greatness is and how greatness is basically defined. And so I want to let you guys listen in about what he had to say about the whole cold conversation. This is him in an interview with Cigar Alejandro last week. So I'm gonna mute myself and you guys are gonna listen in. Okay, let me know if you guys can hear it. Okay, guys, let me fix that real quick. I'm trying to make sure to get this right. Okay, hold on. I think there's a better way to do this. So let me unplug my earphones, and I think that probably will work.
And Tiger never played against each other. They never played in the same tournament. I have a different analogy to that because, first of all, you're never going to say who's the greatest of all time. To me, I think that's more for PR and more for selling. So, Jack and Tiger never played against each other. Same tournament. They never played the same equipment. They never played the same. For compliments, I never played against Will Chamberlain. I never played against Jerry West. To now say that one's greater than the other's unfair. I think you can see the similarities and you understand. This is one way you can judge the two. How much impact did each change or evolve again? Jack during his time when he played, the Tiger during his time. Now, obviously, Jack won more during the time he played. Tiger evolved it to where it crossed a lot of different boundaries, where it's not just the white guy sport, black guy, and all the minorities play the game. And you play at a level to where it generated so much interest financially that it grew the game from a financial standpoint. Now, does that constitute him being the greatest? Yeah, I think it's unfair. He has 18 more majors, 18 majors, and Tiger's got 14. And I think those are where that's how people judge certain things. I won 6 championships. Bill Russell won 11. Does that mean Bill Russell better than anything. Better than anything, because we play different areas. So when you try to equate who's the greatest of all time, it's an unfair comparison. It's an unfair choice. And I think both hands and obviously very good delivery, and he's going to be talented. He's going to be great in our partner. But for me, I think they're both great. I would never say one is great.
So there you go, guys. So this is what pretty much Michael Jordan had to say about the whole opinion about the GOAT conversation just last week, okay?
So I really respected the fact that Michael Jordan, you know, keeps it 100 and keeps it very, very respectful and has a very thought out process when he thinks about, the greatest players of all time and how, you know, people view about greatness and what it is. Now, I'll put it like this, okay? The one thing that I know that Michael Jordan has thought about, and I think that a lot of people have discussed about this in the past, is that the GOAT conversation is more along the lines of what he said. It's almost like PR is a PR type of move because it's trying to draw out ratings, trying to draw out conversations, viewership. So I get the aspect of that because you know I get to the fact that you know Michael Jordan talks about how this is no way to just figure out who's the greatest of all time because we all played in different eras, and I respect that he keeps it 100 with that. Now, to the big subject at hand here, you know, I really liked how he pretty much explained like how he used the golf analogy when it came to Jack Nicholson, actually to Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. Now, Woods has 14 majors. All right, Jack has 18. So they're always going to be intertwined with each other. But did they ever compete against each other? No, they haven't. So we don't know how both of them are going to be judged with one another. But the one thing I really liked how Michael Jordan talked about was that listen, I played in it. I played in my era, and I was successful at it. All right, I won 6 championships about it. I'm just paraphrasing, but does Bill Russell won 11 NBA championships? But does that make you know me better than Bill Russell? Absolutely not. And I think that listen, people have their own perspective and their own viewpoints about who's considered the greatest player of all time, who is considered the greatest of their eras or the greatest of all time, and everybody's going to have an objective or a different perspective. And I think that what Michael Jordan's pretty much talked about in terms of this whole GOAT conversation is that it's unfair to pretty much figure out who's the greatest of all time when they never played against one another. All right. Michael Jordan and LeBron James will never ever play against each other, all right? Because Michael Jordan's old, all right? Michael at this stage right now, okay? Michael Jordan, what? He's what? In his mid 50s, I think. I think he's what? Michael Jordan was pretty much, you know, he's what? He's what? 57 years old? I mean, come on, you guys. He's a fossil, smoking cigars all day long, okay? So I think that we need to pump the brakes a bit about the whole GOAT thing because listen, if we're discussing about who has the best superior skills, who had the best superior, who did the most for their respective teams during their eras, people will say Michael Jordan. All right, and hold on. But the thing is, though, guys, that we need to keep this in mind. What we need to keep in mind is that listen, there's always going to be people I should say different fans who are going to judge greatness very differently. And you know, the one thing people are going to say about with LeBron is that listen, LeBron made all these finals appearances and won 4 championships. Now he's lost 9, definitely, and that maybe kills his argument about his GOAT conversation. But the thing with with LeBron is that he was able to sustain his high level of superior excellence at this advanced stage. Next year, LeBron's going to turn 36, right? At 35 years old, all right, at the age of 35, he averaged 25 points per game, all right, and shot at least what 56% from the field. All right, he put up excellent numbers as usual, right? Listen, we don't know when his prime years is going to go away, but the one thing that LeBron is pursuing right now is his version of of excellence. Okay, and I think that what we need to what we need to understand is that we're always going to have different viewpoints and different perspectives about who's the greatest. The people can say this. People were saying the same thing when it came to Jordan and Kobe, right? I've had long, heated debates about Kobe Bryant and where his level of greatness is, long into the night. You know what I'm saying? Between the two guys, and I can pretty much tell you with a straight face, Jordan and Kobe are a bit similar of how they approach and their skill sets. That's just the truth. And considering that Kobe looked up to Michael Jordan as his personal mentor when Kobe was growing in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Now, Kobe and Michael are gonna have this relationship, forever. Unfortunately, in the wake of Kobe's death. But I think that what people need to slow down is that listen. At the end of the day, you know, we're always gonna have different viewpoints about what greatness is, and I really like the fact of how Michael Jordan pretty much broke it down very eloquently and very articulately. You know what I mean? I mean, listen, we don't mention Bill Russell in the same category of greatest of all time, but he's got what what 11 championships in 13 years, right? And he beat Russell. I mean, actually, he beat Chamberlain multiple times en route to those championships, right? But Wilt Chamberlain had dominant numbers against Russell throughout his career. And so, what does Wilt Chamberlain, is the greatest of all time? People have him as the greatest because a lot of them saw Wilt Chamberlain do a lot of the amazing things before Michael did. And so, at the end of the day, you know, we're always going to have different viewpoints about how we look at greatness. And at this particular point, you guys know I'm a Jordan guy. I'm a Jordan guy. I love Kobe and respect Kobe. I respect LeBron. I don't have much of a high regard for LeBron, but he is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And for today's generation, he is considered their greatest player of all time. I mean, I can't take that away just because I think that LeBron's lost all those finals appearances. But people are going to say, listen, he had longevity, and he's going to break the all-time leading. He's going to be the all-time leading scorer, barring if he stays healthy and stays consistent. So it just is what it is. People are always gonna have different things to think about, but I'm glad that Michael Jordan pretty much set the record straight about the whole greatness conversation, because people are going to have different viewpoints no matter what. And, they're going to have different opinions, and some of them are going to be outlandish than others. The one thing we can all agree upon is that all three of these guys, LeBron, Michael, and Kobe, they're all great players, and they're all Hall of Famers. And you can't take away their accomplishments. You can't take away, how they played the game, and you can't take away the era they were playing in as well. So that's just pretty much I felt about this whole thing, and I'm really glad that Michael Jordan broke it down to a complete science. This is what it is. So, with that being said, you guys, I got some work to do. I got to take care of tonight, right now, you guys. But I want to appreciate all the love and support, all this for this channel too, guys. It's been really pretty much a lot of fun to discuss all the great stuff about basketball, you guys. So but I'm going to be back Friday night at my regular time with a lot more, debates about anything in the world of basketball. And I will continue my historical perspective videos, guys. So, be on the lookout for that, though, guys, at that as well. So make sure to smash the like button on the way out, too, as well. We're getting closer to the 1,000 subscriber mark. So let's continue to push on to this channel, and let's keep on pushing, to the big 1,000, you guys. So with that being said, I want to thank y'all for tuning in to episode 40 of Basketball Conversations. We're about 10 away from the big number 50. So let's continue this mark there. As I see my brother, the off fella in there, he says, "Salute MSB, salute to you from the north side, baby." You know what I mean? So, but I love y'all guys. I appreciate all the love and support, though, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down for the day, though, guys. But I will continue on making videos out there. So keep your notification bells up, so that way you can get all the quick videos right away when they do come out. But this has been Abil Mahari, represent MehariNation Sports Podcast for episode 40 of Basketball Conversations. Much love to the entire LDBC, and I'll see y'all Friday night.